Hello and welcome to Dane Explains. I'm Dane. Recently I did a video on cafeteria Catholicism. Today I'd like to talk about a related subject that applies to pretty much all Christians. I think it's nicely summed up in this question: where has everyone gone? I know for many it may seem like the churches are growing. Well, for most churches that isn't the case anymore. And many of the ones that are growing are doing so by poaching the parishioners from other churches. So, why is this happening? And where is everyone going? Let me explain. I've talked about a couple of related topics in some other videos before, so you might want to check them out. Links in the description. Something that's been hidden to most Christians is the disintegration of Christianity in the Western world. For the last couple of hundred years, population growth has helped hide the trend of the demographic and cultural shift in the Western world. I mean, yeah, sure, there are way more churches and Christians today in the United States and Europe than there was 100 years ago. However, back then, almost everyone in the United States and Europe was a practicing Christian. The distinction between practicing and non-practicing is important, too. In my whole life, I haven't seen a single new church built in any area I've lived in to accommodate growth. Now, I have seen churches change hands, or some pastor renting out a new space for services which lasts a few years and either dissolves or moves to some other place. The only new churches I've seen built were single churches being built to replace the sale of two or more churches that were no longer sustainable, consolidating those congregations into one place to keep it sustainable. The only reason why things have been able to remain relatively stagnant, rather than shrinking the last 30 years or so, is because of population growth. However, in the last 10 years, the tide has turned. People who call themselves Christians aren't just decreasing as a percentage of the total population. They're actually going down in raw numbers as well. This has been driven mostly by the mass exodus of self-described Protestants in the last 10 to 15 years. So what's going on? Well, put simply, kids are growing up and they fall away from their faith when they leave the nest. Actually, they probably do them before, but they're just playing along until they leave. This means as the older population dies off, they're not being replaced with as much new blood as they were before. So, the numbers decline. Now, that's the mechanics of what's happening. But why is it happening? The root cause of the issue is culture. It's moved from a quasi-Christian culture to a secular one. It's not like what happened in ancient Rome, where everyone went to bed in a pagan city one night and woke up to a Christian one. It happened right under our noses, and most people didn't notice. Like the proverbial frog in a pot of water. Things change slowly, but incrementally, like a million camel noses under a million tents. It's a plan that's been in the works for literally hundreds of years. It's been able to go unnoticed for so long because of how slow the process has been. If you took a Christian from 100 years ago, from practically any denomination or church, they wouldn't be able to recognize that same church today. The change was so slow at first that they only made a few changes or concessions in a single person's lifetime. It takes several generations for the changes to become obvious, or 20 minutes for someone interested in studying doctrinal history, although some churches' doctrines haven't budged, like the Catholic Church's doctrine, for instance. However, the people have been taught and conditioned as the culture has changed that those doctrines are antiquated and don't need to be followed anymore. In the last 10 years, the pressure to secularize the culture finally reached the tipping point. 1 in 3 people in the US now have no religion or are anti-religious and have a laser focus on Christianity as the big bad guy. One of the reasons their ideas have been able to spread effectively is because they often pursue careers in academia. I studied molecular biology in college, and most of my professors were anti-Christian, making points to throw digs or jabs at the validity of the Bible or the intellectual capabilities of people who believe in God. while leaving the validity of other religious ideas alone. And yes, they're also in public and even Christian schools as well. On the flip side of this coin are the parents who are too busy to raise their own kids and don't care either way whether their children are Christian once they grow up. Sadly, there's no single fix for the secularization of Western culture. That horse got out of the barn a long time ago. The biggest step that can be taken is to realize we now live in a post-Christian secular culture, and then to live accordingly. I don't think people get what that means. It means live like you would if you just moved to another country, knowing the culture there was hostile to Christianity. Homeschool your kids if you can, and if you can't, and this is even more important than nitpicking the school's curriculum, is getting to know the teachers who are raising your kids half of the time. It's also important to have more kids. The idea that having more than a couple of children is a bad one is another snare of the secular culture. Okay, I know this is a bit of a rant. If you'd like to get more info on how far things have fallen recently, you can look at the survey linked in the description. So this is the point. We aren't just going to fix these issues anymore. And if we can realize that at least, we can put down our shovels and get out of the grave everyone is digging for the late, great Christian West. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please press the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon, link in the description. The more people support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.